All right. Well, good evening, and thank you so much for being here tonight for our Cyber Academy presentation based on the offerings that we have at Palisades High School. I want to thank everyone who was able to join us tonight on the call. And again, for those of you who are not yet on the call but are watching this at a later date, thanks for taking the time to do so. This meeting is being recorded, and I want to make sure I put that out there so you're aware. My name is Dr. Michael Donnelly. I'm the Director of Curriculum Instruction and Assessment for the Palisades School District. And on the call this evening, I have with me some esteemed colleagues from the high school. Mrs. Amber Schlosser, the assistant principal, Mrs. Amy True, who is one of our cyber deans, as well as the English teacher and advisor for many another thing, as well as Mrs. Carol Lee Deemer, also one of our cyber deans, English teacher, and also does many other things as well. I want to thank everyone on the call for being here this evening, and again, thanks to our participants for dialing in. I recognize that you won't be able to see my screen as I share it, but again, you can view this presentation at a later time. But I want to go through and share with folks, first and foremost, our website that we've been working on developing, which is a one-stop shop for all things cyber, K through 12 for the Palisades School District. And then from there, I'm going to turn the presentation over to my high school colleagues to share with you their information for some more specific information regarding our cyber program insofar as how it looks at the high school itself. So let me go ahead. I'm going to present now and share my screen for just a few moments. All right. So what we've been working on throughout the fall is adding additional information and resources for our families to our Palisades Cyber Academy website. So to reach that website, you go to our homepage, and then under the tab for our district, you'll notice that we have columns in alphabetical order. And in the third column, we have a tab entitled Palisades Cyber Academy. So you click on that tab, and that will take you to a landing page, as it were, for all things Cyber Academy for Palisades. There are a number of links that you'll see in the left-hand side here that you can access for support. We've been working to add additional resources for families, tips and helpful hints for learning online, creating home learning spaces for students. We have a link for our secondary students as they are more independent and adept at using online learning tools. In fact, at our high school, our students have been using Canvas, which is our learning management system, since they were sixth graders. And so it's important that we have all this information in one place, one-stop shop for our families and community members and our students, so that when there are questions, you can access that. One area that we have as well that I really appreciate and I think is important to share out too is I'm a big believer in sharing positive news, in sharing out the things that are working well, because we only get to do those things and receive those accolades when we have really listened to those constructive criticisms. And so we have a section called testimonials from students and families. And as you'll see, we have a few high school friends who gave us a few comments there, as well as some families who responded to our survey regarding how this experience is going for them. By brief way of history, as you know, pandemic, March 13th, 2020, and then from there, it was all hands on deck, school closure, who knows what was coming next. And then it was in late July that we were able to really work with our board and our community, knowing what was expected of us from the state to provide an education. We are required, of course, by school code to provide at minimum 180 days of school for our students. And it was determined that this school year that schools would not be closed en masse as they were in March of last year. And so we had to find creative ways to provide educational opportunities for our students and families that was comfortable for them and was going to meet their needs as best as possible. So we worked really, really hard over the summer. I know that our high school team, the administrative team, Mr. Heffernan, Mrs. Schlosser, the school counselors, of course, also Mrs. True and Mrs. Deemer, as well as many others, came together to create a schedule that would allow for us to make sure that we were exercising 6 feet of social distancing for all of our students whose families elected face-to-face. As well as that, and concurrent, was looking into how do we develop a cyber program to enhance that which we've offered in the past, to give our students what they need to continue to learn and to grow. And what we were able to do from a K-12 perspective was to create a program that really allowed for the majority of our courses to be taught by Palisades teachers with Palisades curriculum for our Palisades students. And for that, we are very proud. We've also found ways to encourage our students to participate in the community, to feel part of the school community. Again, these are unique components that we don't find in other cyber charter schools and other learning environments. And so I want to give accolades to our entire faculty and staff for the work that they've been doing, the extra burdens that they've been shouldering, because they know it's important for our students and families. And also, I want to thank our families for the work that they're doing to support us. One of the comments that we received in our recent survey was just this concept of flexibility, and that's a two-way street. So the work that we're doing to be flexible, to provide for kiddos, as well as for our families to understand what we're doing and to be flexible with us, is so very much appreciated. So our cyber program is robust. We've had a cyber program at the high school for many years, but we've added to it this year to, again, provide opportunities for students that otherwise may not have existed previously, but we were required to do so based on our current environment. And again, wanted to give our kids what they need in order to be able to learn and grow as best that they could. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to stop sharing first, as I want to make sure you know who's calling in. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And as I'm doing that, as a reminder, we do have a survey that went out to our families that are requesting changes to their educational placement. And so if a family is currently enrolled face-to-face and wishes to change to cyber, or is currently cyber and wishes to change face-to-face, of course, pending the availability of space per our health and safety plan, please do fill out that survey. And if there are families who are watching, listening, or participating later who are enrolled in a cyber charter school, which means that you're not currently enrolled in the Palisades School District, you would not have received that survey. And so please reach out to Donna Holmes, who is our Director of Community Relations and also wears the hat of registrar, or you can also contact me as well, and I can forward you information accordingly. And we're also working on a flyer that we're going to send out to all of those families too, to remind you of ways that you can re-register with the Palisades School District for the second semester. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to our experts on the call. So Mrs. Slosser, Mrs. Deemer, and Mrs. True. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Donnelly. And I'm going to share my screen so that we can present this slideshow that we've prepared. And it is also available on the PCA website. Let me just share this for you.
While that is loading on your screens, I just wanted to make note that in the comment box, if you are on the line, there is a link to the orientation infographic that's being referenced in this slideshow, and also a link to the PHS website that houses the PCA information.
All right, thank you, Mrs. True. So I know Dr. Donnelly did a great job of introducing us. Thank you, but here we are again. Mrs. True and I are the cyber deans at the high school. So we work closely with the guidance counselors to help schedule students in their online classes and support students while they're taking their cyber courses, no matter what platform they're using. So this is available in the PCA orientation guide, but to get started, we have a couple of procedure, just informational things that students and parents should be aware of. And so the technology resources that students need to be successful in the program include a school-issued Chromebook or a device that is able to access their Gmail account, which is most important. And if there are issues with their Chromebooks, there's a link right there to get help from the Tech Help ticket. And checking their school Gmail is really important on a daily basis. And to help students be successful in the program, we do have an acceptable electronic use policy and academic integrity policy that need to be reviewed and signed. It is important to note that student schedules are not set for semester 2. So if students are current Palisades students, they might be able to see a schedule in semester 2 in Power School. However, that schedule is not finalized until after the results of the surveys are in, and families have up until December 9th to complete that survey that Dr. Donnelly had referenced. And at that time, the schedule will be created. So there might be some adjustments to the second semester schedule on students' Power School accounts. Materials that students need to be successful, again, that Chromebook or device that will ensure they are able to access the learning platforms and also participate in Google Meets with their camera and mic. If a course requires a textbook, they will be distributed at the high school, and teachers will notify students within the first week of the course if they need that. But in many cases, electronic resources are utilized by the teachers in the classes, and they won't actually need a hard copy of materials. So our cyber program at the high school uses 3 different learning platforms. As we've said, when possible, we try to schedule students in Palisades courses, so taught by Palisades teachers and using Canvas. But when that's not possible, we do use 2 outside vendors, Apex and EduShare. And so some similarities and differences with these platforms. The Canvas courses are those taught by the Palisades teacher, and there are various options that happened this first semester where students are home, but they're live streaming into a class where a teacher is instructing students face to face. And then there are also online classes that are asynchronous, where they are not required to meet at a scheduled time with a teacher and other students, but there might be opportunities for possible synchronous meetings where the teacher, the student, and perhaps other peers are in on a Google Meet session. For those Palisades classes, grades are available for students and parents to see in Canvas and PowerSchool at all times. But when a Palisades course cannot be offered in our cyber program, we go to 2 outside vendors. Apex is used primarily for the core content areas, and there is a teacher, a separate teacher who teaches those courses. Those courses are all asynchronous. There are not any required synchronous meeting sessions, and students mainly communicate through email with the teacher or through the messaging system in Apex. And Apex sends weekly reports to parents with grades, and students will also receive a bi-weekly report from either Mrs. True or myself. EduShare is one of the outside vendors used primarily for elective courses that aren't being offered online through Palisades. And so those courses have actually a group of teachers who teach the class and are available throughout the day for support. Those sessions are again asynchronous, but there is a live chat available for immediate support if students have a question about the content. And bi-weekly reports are sent out from the cyber deans. There are some tutorials if parents and students want to look at what these platforms look like. So on the PCA website, you can click on these links and it will take you to a picture and tutorial video of what those platforms look like. And Mrs. True is going to pick up with student expectations.
So I'm going to cover basically while the student is in the course, how procedures are handled regarding attendance. And then I'm just going to finish off with some helpful tips for everybody at home to be successful. So regarding attendance, our policies at the high school are that students must be within 5% of the expected progress of the course. So basically, if you are in an Apex or an EduShare course, there's a specific percentage that students are expected to meet every week. So as long as that student is within that 5% percentage of completing the coursework, then he or she is considered attendant. The minimum weekly workload that is usually outlined in Canvas is also a requirement for attendance. And then all students enrolled in cyber courses will be required to sign an attendance acknowledgement form. And this attendance agreement is available online on the Palisades website. It basically just is an overview of all of the bullet points on this screen, and you're just signing it to acknowledge the fact that you understand these policies. I would encourage, or we would encourage you guys to set up notifications in your Canvas courses. And again, Canvas is used for the Palisades teachers, to be emailed notifications when a teacher makes an announcement or makes a comment on your assignments, because it's really important in terms of communication to understand what the teacher expectations are. And then, of course, office hours are offered for Palisades teachers and also the Apex and EduShare courses. But for the Palisades teachers, the hours vary. And emailing teachers and communicating through those specific platforms is really important in order to make sure that everybody's on the same page in order to be successful. While these office hours may vary for the Palisades teachers, for the EduShare course, it's usually pretty much almost all day. So there's a live chat feature there, whereas with Palisades teachers, there might not be a live chat option, but email is always an important venue to communicate. So in terms of time to accommodate the attendance rule, we encourage students to dedicate 8 hours per course per week for the attendance requirements. So that's basically about 90 to 120 minutes per course per day, which is about what students are expected to complete in a face-to-face room anyway. In order to make sure that students are making progress and are earning a passing grade, this time allotted is important for students to be working at home. Courses that are asynchronous, except for those that are live streamed, mean that students do not need to attend a live video conference. However, Mrs. Deemer did mention that some teachers may suggest a synchronous session here or there, just to make sure that the whole class is on the same page or to address maybe group projects. But usually almost all courses that are online are asynchronous. So some helpful tips to be a successful online learner and a successful online coach, which would be parents or guardians, is to really make a plan. So having an agenda book or a piece of paper that shows your schedule of how much time you should be dedicating to each course per day will allow you to then be organized. So if you have one course and you say, oh, I'm going to do this from 9 a.m. to 10:30, and then for the next course from 11 o'clock to 12:30, that will help you keep on track instead of just writing all of the assignments, because that can be overwhelming. So if you chunk your time and plan it out and schedule it out, that will help you stay organized. Being in a home environment, there's a lot of distractions. So being in a well-lit room, trying to stay away from the phone right next to the computer is really helpful so that you can stay focused. And so here are some just suggestions for parent support. Again, all of this information is in the orientation infographic that is in the comments and also located on the website. So I'm just going to touch on a few things regarding how parents can be supportive, or guardians or coaches at home. So basically, we are all in this together, and that includes Mrs. Deemer and myself, the administrators, the counselors, and of course the teachers. We are all helping each other out to make sure students are successful. So if students are struggling at home, we would, reach out to you, and we would hope that you would support us back in terms of helping the student get online onto the computer, or helping the student write down a schedule, or helping the student check mark off assignments. It's always nice to see crossed out stuff on a list. So what basically Mrs. Deemer and I do is we send bi-weekly emails with those progress reports saying, yay, you did it, you made the percentage goal this week, or oh, did it make it so much, maybe you can catch up next week. And how about we schedule a Google Meet? So Google Meets are really our way of communicating with students who are struggling, and it is our way of reaching out to students so that they don't feel alone. And coaching them in that sense too is also helpful to make sure that they are successful. So support at home is just as important from our end as it is on your end as well, especially if those Apex and EduShare teachers are not are a little difficult to contact. So we're always here to help support if students are just falling a little behind. And I think that was the last slide. So I guess this is the opportunity to open it up to any questions if anybody has any.
Before we open it up, I just want to thank Mrs. Deemer and Mrs. True, our fantastic cyber deans. They do a great job just checking in with students. I encourage parents to join the Google Meets that students are required to meet with Mrs. Deemer and Mrs. True just to check progress. Also encourage about Canvas Observer accounts. You can track student progress there. But again, it's very important just to keep track of your students' progress while online to support at home, so we can also support your child in school. But again, Mrs. Deemer, Mrs. True are keeping great, fantastic support for your student and always communicating with myself, counselors, and your child. So with that being said, if there are other questions, I'll open it up there. I'm here also to answer questions about anything else related to cyber learning as well. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, everybody. And again, for anyone calling in at this point, if you do have a question that you feel is good for the group, simply dial *6 and that will take you off mute. And so we'll go ahead and wait for now just to see if anyone comes off mute. All right, so I'm not hearing anybody, which is okay as well. And so that wait time, as we call it, right, in the industry. So again, thank you so much, everyone participating this evening. Again, thanks to Mrs. Deemer, Mrs. True, and Mrs. Schlosser for being here this evening to represent our high school and to share our high school cyber academy option. Again, for anyone currently participating or for those viewing this presentation later, if you do have questions about the program, please feel free to reach out to anyone on this call. Again, as well, for any family who may be currently enrolled in a cyber charter school and therefore not getting our emails regarding surveys, please feel free to reach out to Donna Holmes, our Director of Community Relations, or to me, and I can forward you information accordingly in order to make sure that we can get you back to where you want to be, whether that be part of our Cyber Academy for the second semester or face-to-face, again, pending the availability of space in order to maintain that social distancing as we cherish here in the district as part of our health and safety plan. So again, thank you so much to everyone for participating this evening. Thank you so much to our cyber deans and to Mrs. Slosser for representing the high school. And with that said, I want to wish everyone a very nice evening and enjoy the next few days, and also happy holidays.